Here we go. What's up guys, welcome back. Finally, tomorrow I've got organised and my second-hand BC Racing Coilovers are going on the Mazda. Before they go on, I thought I'd do a quick comparison about how it drives now and then how it drives once the coilovers go on, just to show you the difference, because at the moment it's pretty inaccurate. Let's go and have a drive. So give it its due, this car is 20 years old and it's done 112,000 miles, and for the last 4,000 or 5,000 of those I have lent on it pretty hard, and I have done a track day with it, which to do a track day on standard suspension while you've got coilovers in the workshop seems like a bit of a silly idea. However, it was reasonably fun slash sketchy. Reasonably well. Even though the suspension is quite soft, it still seems to clatter over potholes, so I don't know whether that's just the chassis in general or what, but the main problem is that it turns in really well. The steering rack on the MX5 is really good and it's really quick. However, once it's initially turned, then the suspension starts to sag, so it's got a really good turn-in, but the suspension doesn't back it up. It probably did a better job when it was new, but it doesn't now. So you turn in, the initial turn-in's really good, then the turn-in starts to slow down a little bit as the suspension all starts to sag. Just going for a gigantic flood here, hopefully you're not going to get it all over lens. And then once the suspension's sagged, it then, like once it's kind of compressed and it's all loaded up, it then carries on turning. So you get kind of like the initial turn-in and then it slows down, and then it kind of, you get like a secondary turn-in, which is disconcerting. Once you're used to it, it's still not great, but you do kind of get your head around it. The next problem is then when you're like mid-corner and you're really like on it and you're all loaded up flat out. For example, you're going around the left-hand corner and then encounter a slow-moving vehicle, which happens quite a lot, or a cyclist or whatever, and you've then got to lift or brake, it then kind of nosedives quite a lot, which then makes the back light, which then also means that the back kind of moves around on the bushes or lack of suspension, which then means obviously if you're going around the left-hand corner and the back goes light and it tries to come to the right, you then turn into the ditch even more. So it feels like the back's broken away, but it hasn't, but you've still got to kind of straighten the wheel, at which point then when that stopped moving around, you've then got to carry on turning around the corner again. It's pretty sketchy. Anyway, let's do a couple of sends of it now. I'll try and show you what it is that I mean. It probably won't come across on camera very well. It definitely comes across from the seat of your pants. Let's get it down to workshop tomorrow. There's a separate video, a quick video on how to change the suspension on your MX5. So if you're watching this and you want to know how to do it, watch that video. And then I'm super excited to see what it's going to drive like once I've got the coilovers on. If you are changing the suspension on your MX5 to something like this, some nice BC Racing Coilovers, there you go. Here we go. Right, you're winning. Alright, I'll put that in there first. Up with the top. Moment of truth. Oh, it's not too bad. I thought it was going to be super duper low. Mate, you're literally shooting my car. Mate, I can see it from here. One more? Yeah, go on then. Okay, so it's been a month or two since I put them on. As you can see, the car has gained a few Porsche stickers. Basically, I got invited to a Porsche event, but I didn't have a Porsche, so I faked a Porsche. So it's sitting a bit lower, and it's a fake Porsche. But let's have a quick look, and we'll see what she's sitting like, and then we'll take it for a drive. So I think you'll agree, visually, it's definitely looking a lot better. Less off-road spec than it was before. Got my Porsche stickers on. Yeah, a mate of mine invited me to a Porsche event. There's like 150 Porsches going. Well, there was 149 Porsches and one MX5 Porsche. Anyway, that's what it's sitting like. Let's take it for a drive, and I'll tell you what settings I've gone with and how it's handling. That I probably should have done earlier, but I didn't because it didn't feel that bad, was the tracking. So I left it as it was for a couple of weeks, because where the suspension gets lowered, the pivot points for the wishbones are also the pivot points for the track rod ends. So technically it shouldn't adjust the tracking unless the tracking was already out, which it didn't feel like it was out before. Left it as it was, it felt the same, like turning wise and everything. And when I got the tracking done, the guy said it wasn't that far out, you probably won't notice a difference. I hadn't even got out of the town where they did it, and I noticed a difference straight away. It was definitely, it kind of wanted to wander a little bit, so I don't know if that was towing out a little bit, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what it should be. If it's wandering, I think it's towing out. Looks like it's going to flipping rain. But I've got to say, absolutely transformed this car. One of the things I always like to try and do on a car sooner rather than later is change the suspension, especially seeing as all the cars that I drive tend to be about 20 years old. All the cars that I buy tend to be about 20 years old, so the suspension is normally about 100,000 miles, and then especially if I want to take it on track. I did take this on track with the stock suspension and on some remold tyres, and it was fun but potentially dangerous. But now I've got the suspension on, it's definitely firmer, but it's not uncomfortable. I always go for BC Racing Coilovers. Move over me. I always go for BC Racing Coilovers. I always go for second-hand ones. I think brand new, they're like £1,000, 1,200 quid. You can buy cheap coilovers that are about 400 quid. They tend to be like quite a crashy ride, even on like the softest setting. I'm on quite a bumpy road now. You can hear a few extra rattles in the car because it's old, but the ride quality on BC Racing Coilovers, in my opinion, is really, really good. I started with it on the softest setting. I've got another video that talks about coilover settings, which I'll link in the description. But basically, fully soft is what we call 0, and then fully hard on these is 30 or 32. So I started with them on about 5, drove it home, and it was just, even though the car was lower, it was just as boaty as it was before. And my worry with being quite a light car, that coilovers was going to make it too stiff. So even on 5 all round, it was still like floating and bouncing around. And then I went to 10, and that was a bit better, and then I went to 15 and 20. Now, one thing I have done on this is I've gone for the equal amount of stiffness front and back, because it's technically, I think, a 50-50 weight distribution. I've got the same suspension on my Civic, which, because it's the engine in the front and nothing at the back, I'll go for slightly stiffer on the front than the back, whereas this, the engine's in the front, the gearbox is in the middle, and then it's got the diff at the back, and I think it's like 52-48 weight distribution, something like that. So I'm now 20 all round, and I'll be honest, I almost feel like, I don't know if I got used to it, but I feel like I could go a little bit more. But the most important thing is it actually goes where I point it. Like before, it was kind of, you turn in and you weren't 100% sure where you're going to end up. It was kind of exciting in a kind of near-death experience sort of way. But now it actually goes where I point it. If anything, sometimes when I turn in, I'm waiting for that kind of secondary turn in and that delay, and I end up kind of turning in a little bit too early. So I need to drive it a bit harder, a bit more, get used to it actually turning where it should do. The only thing now is because the suspension's stiffer, I can feel all the movement in the bushes. So the rear, where I got that secondary turn in, it's still doing it a little bit, but not bad. But mid-corner, especially if I like adjust my line or hit a bump or have to lift because I've come up behind a slower driver or cyclist or something like that, I can still feel the back kind of moving around on its bushes a little bit. And I don't know if that's the diff bushes or the suspension bushes or something like that. Again, if you're a suspension or bushes expert, let me know what I need to be changing. But for now, yeah, absolutely transformed. Ride quality is still there, it's lower, it looks better, it actually goes where I point it. Yeah, thumbs up all round. The two things that are letting this car down now are these seats, because it corners so much faster. A little bit like my original Civic seats, I end up like propping myself up on the door or leaning on the centre console. The centre console on this is quite high, so it's quite handy, but I will end up getting this on track now I've got the new suspension on. But the seats, I think I'm going to end up having a bit of a core workout by the end of the day, because you're kind of just propping yourself up in the seats. So I do need to get some better seats. I've had some Sparco Sprints in here before, literally for about 10 minutes I took them out because they weren't very comfortable at all. But I don't know what other seats I can get in here that's still going to be comfortable, not too pinchy. And the next thing is tyres as well. I've got new wheels and tyres to go on this. They're currently fitting some Michelin PS3s, which I got off my mate, so they're going on soon. And then once they're on, I won't be relying on land sails on the back, a Continental front right, which is 2013, and it's got a plug in it, and the front left is City Racing, I think, but it's got racing in the title, so I'm assuming it comes from some sort of Formula One school of engineering. I don't know. So there you guys, thanks for watching. Hope it wasn't too rambly, but I tried to cover all the aspects of driving with standard worn out old suspension and driving with coilovers. I sort of knew what to expect because I've done exactly the same on my Civic as well. But any questions I haven't covered in this video, drop them in the comment section and I will reply to them. Subscribe if you haven't, and stay tuned for more MX5 adventures. I think, can't even remember when I put them on. That's terrible.